Hi guys, welcome back to Project Zomboid. Today we're going to do another demonstration of the sprinter burn. And yeah, I'm playing, a similar game as what I play normally in the Loons to the Slaughter series now, which is all sprinters, and they're soft sprinters. And in this playthrough, this is actually one where I didn't cheat to set this up. I'm 4 days into the run. And yeah, I took over, it's in Rosewood, and I took over this, I got lucky and started in this main city block here that was, empty. So I managed to clear it out, set up a whole bunch of escape routes, barricade off the upper floor, stockpile some food, and kind of push the locals back to create a radius. And then what I did was I started kind of working my way south here through town and cutting a path down to, to search for ultimately a car with a siren, because that's what I really wanted to try this time compared to what we did last time. So I did find one and managed to gas it up, and it's in great shape. It's a police car. And then I also chopped a couple trees down and, decided to do my burn kind of over in this part of town because it's sort of slightly off the path. And of course, one of the big things is I didn't want to burn down my home. So yeah, so I set up a fire here with a ton of firewood. So we got 16 hours, which is insane overkill. I think it was 4 logs or something. But the point is that, I wanted to keep it burning through at least the entire day. So with that burning, we're gonna just blaze down and get to the car. And I, it actually wasn't that hard, I found, to, on this map at least, to sort of achieve what I've achieved so far. The one catch is that, the vehicles, I have the vehicle setting to having normal likelihood of having gas. So it's different than stock Apocalypse. But it's a little more realistic because, most if not all cars you find would have gas. So that's the one difference. And I'm a burglar, so I was able to hotwire whatever I find, which is a great character I'm finding for getting into sprinters because you want to get a car fast. So, so yeah, we found this police car. We threw the dead body out of it that was inside, gassed it up, and yeah, guys. So what we're gonna do is it's an all-day burn. So I probably won't show you the whole thing, but I'll show you how it started. I'll show you what I did, and then I'll show you what the outcome was. But yeah, it's starting to look like this methodology is viable with sprinters. So okay, so we fired up, and yeah, as soon as I start this thing up, the the engine guns or whatever, and we get some zombies coming in, and yeah, so I just dropped the alarm right away, and off we go, guys. So Rosewood's pretty big. I mean, there's a big stretch of residential properties to the southeast that I was hoping to drag zombies in from. Now, ideally with a burn like this with sprinters, you don't know how many burns you're going to get like this. You've got your one police car with your sirens. You might find another one in town if you're lucky, but I was sort of under the assumption that this is a lucky find. It's in good shape. I should have shown you the car condition, but basically the front 2 wheels are about 70 something, which is important, and I believe the back 2 wheels as well. So the car was in fairly decent shape. And yeah, but there's no guarantees I'd find another that I could use for this task. So I was kind of hoping to make this my only burn, and therefore draw people in from literally all over town. And more particularly, I really wanted to draw people away from the vicinity of the gas station, which is in the north end of town. Which is, for any run, clearing your gas station is really desirable. So, so yeah, this is why I'm kind of pulling up the road here to the north end, just to sort of draw them in. And one of the tricks with sprinters in driving is that you need to drive quickly to stay ahead of them, and the problem with that is that you're moving outside of the 100 cell radius for attracting zombies. So if you blast away, the zombie that's 100 squares away that suddenly drops out of the simulated radius will no longer chase you. He kind of loses you. So as far as I understand. So you kind of have to be a little bit slow. You definitely don't want to go much faster than them. You want to kind of draw them through and let them cluster and do a couple of circuits so that the stragglers that end up falling outside of your active radius kind of get drawn back in. And as we saw in the other burn demonstration, not hitting them head on is good. Trying to hit them with glancing blows on the sides, I find tends to preserve the car condition a lot longer. What I did find in some offline experimentation was that, you know, having the zombies bounce off the back of the car and having them hit the front of the car both damage the the back tires and the front tires respectively. So, you know, that's going to shorten your burn for sure. As soon as you blow a tire, it's emergency survival. So I've taken to the strategy of do not really let them cluster too much at the back and bump up against the back of the vehicle. So the glancing blows on the side still seem to be pretty minimal in terms of their impact, but the yeah, you want to avoid the direct hits to the front and back. So yeah, we're clustering them well, and this is just a taste of what's in Rosewood. And what you'll see is that, you know, they keep coming in all day. It's really epic. Oh, that was a mistake there, just about. Yeah, you definitely don't want to run into things. You still run the danger of, if enough of them get in front of the car, that's it. You won't be able to get away. So now that I've clustered up a pretty strong number, and I feel like I'm probably drawing most of the ones in from town, I light them up. So just drag them through the fire. And so it begins, guys. Yeah, and my strategy for this basically is to run circles around them, and it gets tricky because they do get kind of like spread out, and ultimately with a good burn, like when you're dealing with shamblers, you know, they cluster well and you can tend to group them very well. But for some reason with sprinters, the rate at which it updates the AI pathing tends to kind of cause them to be very loose, you know, a looser grouping. So it is tough to kind of create a tight circle that you can run circles around, basically, that you can circumnavigate, I guess. And you know, that starts to be the challenge. And you definitely don't want to run into the burning ones, because I have a feeling that those damage the tires potentially more. You're more likely to get a tire pop if you hit a bunch of burning ones, I think, though I don't know for sure. But so what I had to do eventually was start to cut over here through the woods. And you know, what I found is that over the course of the run, the burn that is, I progressively kind of ran out of paths to drive, because ultimately you want to be driving on grass. You know, you don't want to drive on the bodies, because I think that, especially if you do it quickly, that will hasten the destruction of your vehicle. And so, yeah, it started to become a little dicey, as you'll see towards the end. But here it is, 10:30 in the morning. We're just getting started. We got a pretty big burn going, but you know, as the day progresses, they keep coming in. So I end up going around this circle that I'm doing here about, I want to say like 20 times or something, or more. Yeah, guys, so as this burn went on, I was just astonished as the day progressed. It's now 1600 to find, you know, fresh groups of, you know, 50 or 100 zombies that had just kind of just rolled in, you know. So, you know, the siren draws them in from, I think, 100 tiles, and they, you know, the ones that are at the fringe kind of get sucked in a little bit, and then they lose the scent if you kind of pull out of that region, or that, you know, because they sort of, there's something about the way that they detect the sound. Sometimes they perk up to it, and then they sort of orient, and every once in a while their AI gets updated with the new position of your car. So I think somehow you can kind of lose them, and they end up kind of inching forward. So throughout the whole day, like, layers of zombies were kind of finally getting within the sort of steady radius of the siren and coming in. So it's an extremely long burn, and you know, you got to be ready for that for sure. Make sure you bring the supplies, make sure you got the gas, make sure the car's in good shape, because it's not something that is that easy to abort halfway. And so around 1800 here, I decided that it was getting towards the end of the day, and I was seemingly pulling in an endless number of zombies that they just kept coming, and I knew the burn had to terminate. So I shut off the siren and the lights, and you know, just tried to draw in the remainder. And as you can see, one of the challenges towards a late burn on this scale is that, you know, you run out of grass. And so the thing is that my sense is that zombies don't light each other directly on fire, even if they're running right beside each other. A burning one won't directly light his neighbor. Instead, what I think has to happen is he has to light the ground that he's running on, and the neighbor, if he happens to be on that spot as well at that moment, will light. Or, you know, that fire he leaves behind him, others will run over and light. And if you watch the video, you should see that happening. You know, you might be able to pick it up, but you can sort of trail behind me and see that the fires that get left behind seem to be doing all the work. And it may also be the case, although I'm not sure, that if you knock a zombie that's burning over and another zombie runs over it, he sets him on fire, but I'm not sure. But, oh wow, look at this. So here we are. This is a good example of like late burn, and I suddenly have a brand new horde of, you know, 50, 60 zombies here that aren't burning. And I was like, where are they coming from? It's a shocker. Anyway, now I have the task of trying to draw them, all the non-burning ones, over grass that I can get to light, you know, from the burning ones. So one of the important things to think about before embarking on a burn like this is to find a suitable area with enough grass to do, as you've seen, like, you know, 30 concentric circles where you're kind of drawing the zombies over more grass. Because once an area is burnt out and you get all that ash and all the burnt squares, I'm pretty sure they don't relight. So, you know, you'll have, you know, plenty of grass initially, and you eat away at it until you have a hard time lighting unlit zombies because you can't have that intermediary burning grass. So I started, you know, stretching out, and as you stretch out, you run the risk of having the fire continue into, you know, into town or whatever. In this case, the fire did not seem to spread much at all. It seemed very contained, and I'm not sure what governs that within the game, but you know, it's a hot day. Looks like it's 90 Fahrenheit. It's really hot, and yet, you know, this grass is not spreading. The fire's not spreading. And other times I've seen it spread through town. So, like here, we didn't even burn this house right beside the burn, which surprises me. So, anyway, yeah, but at this point in the burn, I was, you know, doing a lot of running over bodies too. I couldn't find paths that were clear, and I was worried about, you have no sense of what your tire condition is really, except for just intuition. And so, I was doing my best not to stay on the bodies, but, you know, with a burn like this, you know, it soon becomes that there's almost no paths. And with sprinters, you have to go a little bit faster than a crawl, so I fear that might cause damage to the tires. But anyway, it kept going. Like, look at this, just they kept coming, just more and more zombies, even to my car without the siren. It was a little bit, I was a little bit worried at this point in the burn that it was never going to end. So, and another thing is that without the siren, it was pretty clear that the horde was losing the scent, amazingly. So just driving around at that sprinter speed, the zombies kind of on the periphery, even if they're burning, even if they were just chasing you, tend to sort of like forget about you. And so I had to honk the horn a fair bit. I had to, and so you know, I think it's a double-edged sword to have the siren going all the time. It does a pretty good job of bringing the horde in and tightening it up. But on the other hand, it tends to sort of almost seemingly infinitely draw in zombies from from far and wide. So like here you go, here's some more that just found their way into the burn, like, you know, what, 12 hours into it or something, which is mind-blowing that that happens. But yeah, it seems to happen. Like and I think again, my theory for that is that the far peripheral ones catch a whiff and then they get the scent broken because you exceed the distance, and then every cycle that I do, when I go past that spot, I bring them in like another 5 steps until finally they are, for a persistent amount of time, stuck within the radius of the sound, and then they sort of more consistently run into the center. But it's still a little bit mysterious to me how that all works. But yeah, the observable truth is that they just keep coming, so it's definitely leave a lot of time. And here we go, this whole group down here, you know, A, they're not burning, B, they lost the scent, and here, coming in from the trees, a brand new group of, look, 100 zombies or something. Oh wow, just, you know, crazy really. Here we go, guys, another example of you know, 2100 in a brand new group, it seems, showed up. It's just wow, you know. And the thing is, you set them on fire, but it's a good hour. Like, they burn almost, I don't know, they burn like a half hour, an hour. So every new wave that comes in commits you to another hour out there as the light fades and as the day progresses. So it can really get you in trouble. And now that being said, I do know that if you just wanted to just break contact, like just go screeching out of the region as fast as you possibly could to some known safe spot where it's quiet, as soon as you break the 100 tile radius with these burning zombies, they'll just stop in their tracks and they'll remain burning, and their state will be frozen until you come back. So you could just pick up your burn where you left off in theory. So that's another thing to consider. I haven't tried it directly, but I'm fairly sure it's possible. As you see guys, you know, towards the end of the burn here, we end up with a whole bunch of crawlers. There's like 10 crawlers out there, just sort of working their way through the ash, and they don't burn. So crawlers don't set on fire. Even, I think, maybe I spoke too soon there. Looked like maybe one's burning. No, I think not. But basically, oh yeah, they do. Crawlers burn. Never mind. That's good. I don't know if they actually set on fire when they go through the flames, but if you knock them down flaming, they can turn into burning crawlers. So that's fine. But it is a hazard, because when you come back to this region, the crawlers will be there. They'll be in amongst the bodies, and they are very hard to see. So it's something to be concerned about. You could always just go back with a new car or a car in decent condition and just run over all the crawlers, which would probably be the safest way to do it, is just do a circuit and take care of them all. And yeah, as the light faded, it became clear to me that I wasn't going to have time to burn those remainder zombies, so I had to make my exit. So I just bolted for my original parking space, and unfortunately, because we were in a hurry here and there were zombies on my tail, I didn't have a chance to look at the condition of the car. But yeah, it was apparent as soon as I got out of the car that there's still a lot of zombies. Look at all these zombies that got trapped by the high fence here. So, you know, that's fine. It's good too in a way, because where they get trapped in, like, you know, eddies and stuff, they will be clustered, so they're at least not out wandering, and they're contained. So that's a good outcome. But there's still some roamers here and there, and yeah, I basically sneak ran my way back, and I noticed that there's a lot of activity still in town. So the zombies have been riled up good, and it got a little dicey. I'll say it wasn't trivial getting back, even though my base is just right here. You know, look at this behind me. The sound I made brought in a whole bunch from far and wide, so they were all kind of now occupying my base on the first floor. And I had a couple in the case here. And yeah, so they'd sort of re-entered my building, because again, drawing them in, I'd probably peripherally drawn in a few with the last few siren sounds that didn't actually pull them all the way to the burn, but they kind of got lost the scent in and around my building. So there's that to think about. So the choice of a burn location is key. You want to definitely have it thinking about having your base or your hiding spot on the periphery where it won't, no matter where you burn or where you burn, you won't end up drawing a large horde to that point. So, but anyway, we got home nice and safe because there were a bunch of zombies down below. I felt it was important to block the door. But yeah, guys, so that's it. That was I think a very successful burn. There's probably like, you know, 500 zombies out there or something. But I will say though that the very next day, at dawn, I went out and trying to clear out the zombies that had been pulled into my base area. I actually got jumped and killed. So it was successful but unsuccessful. I think, you know, and that was a bit of incompetence. So really, like, it works, but you got to be careful, guys, and you got to choose your burn location very carefully. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope it was useful to you guys. I hope it encourages you to go out there and try to burn your sprinter hordes. And anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions, please go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll catch you next time.